Last time.
Aren't you glad Jake's a mechanic?
I went to school! I haven't left. I've been here since the last video, just waiting for you all to come back. That's because it's the same day as the last one ended. Let's get into it.
The new motorcycle, they cost too much, so we will buy you for the same amount of parts, and we'll buy some parts to make it cool. All used motorcycle is brand new. Wow.
How about that?
So this video is all fun. I'm gonna throw the power commander on the bike. Nothing's that complicated about this. Let's go ahead and finally put that ridiculously light battery back in. This thing is hilariously light. The battery is slightly shorter than the stock battery. They give you this little foam pad. Stick that down in there. Outside of exhaust, I have to imagine this has got to be like the best weight savings sort of thing you could do to a bike. But does it even work? Now we're gonna dive the deepest that we're gonna go into this bike. It means we have to pop the air box at least half off. It's not that big a deal. Doing it because we're installing these PSR block-off plates, small block-offs. There's no reason to make these things look this nice. Even if you're running this thing as a street fighter bike, you still don't see these. But I love the detail. The finish on them is amazing. You can kind of get some dirty air into the air box because of the system. It makes the exhaust extra hot for no reason, especially if there's no Cali converter. We have aftermarket exhaust on this bike. It serves no real purpose. We've got 4 clamps that need to be loosened. Just kind of let it slide out of this way here like this. For the purposes of what we're doing, this is all we need to do. If we have this air box off for days, I would say, you know, or we're doing tons of work under here, I would probably go get like some little rubber latex gloves and literally put it over each one of these throttle bodies. But for purposes, we're gonna be in and out here so fast, that's all we need to do. These are the 2 pieces we're gonna be removing and plating off. Unplug this, unplug it from the air box. Little reed valves right here, they're just grimy though. Yeah, we don't need that. This is what the plate looks like that replaces it, okay? And you see here, it's got this little groove in the back, but there's no like gasket or anything on here, right? There's no instructions in the box. Take this here, and if you pull on this, you can separate this, and so you get this piece right here, and this is the gasket in there anyway. It's a sort of rubberized piece that holds the reeds. Then I took the little reed thingies off. You're gonna have to push really hard on these Phillips heads. This is your gasket, and it goes together. It took a second to kind of look at it and go, what do you want me to do? Anyway, got it figured out now. Let's put it back together. This thing's sitting there something like this, but I found you're actually gonna need to turn it like that. Just trust me. It'll still seal because that gasket's a square and it goes all the way around, and put your PSR logo on it. The lettering going out. It's a little fiddly, but nice and sealed. Got this little plug right here. The idea is you're supposed to stick this over it, clamp it. This is hilariously too big. It's a bit of a problem here. So I grabbed the hose that came off of there. After playing with it for it's longer than it's acceptable in public, I've got it on to the old hose about this much. Cut about this much of it off. Can make me a little plug. It's not ideal, but this would work. This will work. Take that, shove it on there. Done. Never have to mess with that again. They've given me nothing to cap this one with, and this is a vacuum hose I need to cap. I'm gonna take a random screw I have that's about the right size. This will seal this off. Now I'm gonna take this in a small zip tie, and I'm just gonna run it down. Good enough. Now, if the power commander I was installing was an ignition and fuel version, this would be the point I would go ahead and start installing the power commander because we have access to the spark plugs right now. But ours is a fuel only, so that means we can put the air box back on. Go ahead and throw this K&N air filter in here. Reusable, high flow, lasts a bajillion miles or something. K&N air filter, and it's pre-oiled, thank God. And here's the moment we find out. It already has a K&N air filter in there, doesn't it? Sure enough, it did have a K&N air filter in there. Well, you're getting a new one. Yes, you can clean it, but you know what? Here we are. We're already committed. It's done. I want to go have dinner. If you have a 2006 or equivalent ZX-6R, you know, like a K&N air filter, stay tuned. I'll go throw it somewhere on the side of the street and you can have it. We're having fun. For these bolts here, because they can kind of cut their own threads, they're going into plastic, what you want to do is you actually want to spin them backwards until there it is, and actually get them to fall back in. It's their own threads, and it's really great. I'll show you again. I'll go inside and have a beer. So our part from J&P Cycles has arrived. Our pressure switch banjo bolt. Now here's the stock cable. Now we need to solder these together. We're gonna snip this off and connect it to this so we have a more factory connection. Check that this is working by setting our multimeter on ohms. We get a complete connection. We should see zeros. This exhaust has been sitting slightly crooked and it's been driving me nuts. We'll just go ahead and fix that right now. It seems like an easiest time to do that. Alright, time to dig into this wiring. You always want to avoid modifying the wiring harness, and that's kind of what was going on here, so we're going to correct that now. Now it won't catch on fire. Now one thing the bike doesn't have right now is a rear license plate tail light or even a place to hold the plate. So I've got this wire here. This is the thing that was supposed to feed it power that the guy had with speaker wire and some other weird stuff. I don't know. We freed it from that hole. Now I've gotten this from our sponsor, Jurassic Park. Be sure to go see the new movie. I'm kidding. It's J&P Cycles. Looks just like a license plate frame, doesn't it? But it's got LEDs up here. Hey, it's metal. I honestly thought this was gonna be like plastic. That's really cool. So now, it's like it's factory. Now I get to have some real fun. I want to install this power commander next. While working on that, clutch here, these are the friction plates. What I'd like to go ahead and do with these, throw them in a Ziploc bag here with a little bit of oil. So there you go. Whether you believe in this or not, it certainly wouldn't hurt anything. So I don't really know, to be honest with you. So yeah. But you can't get mad at me for not doing it if you're one of those people that wants me to do this. So we'll let this sit while we do the power commander. What is a power commander? Why do you need it? This bike already had exhaust and, as we found out, already had a K&N on it, which explains a lot because the few times I rode this bike around, it definitely had a dead spot in the throttle. Meaning you get in the throttle a certain place, the bike sort of stutters, it acts up. Anytime you increase the airflow to the bike, that's gonna happen. Basically, the way the power commander works is it takes the signals going into the injectors, in some cases the sparks, not in this bike, this is a fuel only module, but it takes those signals and changes them up a bit. It says more fuel, more timing, whatever it's doing. Look at the packing on these things. They always do look nice. Some of us men out there in particular, we don't like to read instructions because why would you? But there's a lot going on in here and you should read the instructions because the one thing about these guys, they always do make really good instructions and you need to because you need to know what wires to hook into what place. So we gotta make all this make sense. Believe me, this one isn't even that bad. This is just fuel only. It's only doing one set of injectors. Some of them do both set injectors and all the ignition. So you have this times 3, which really scares people. But it's seriously, it's not that complicated. We're gonna hook it up to the computer. We're gonna throw a map on it. We'll have this on in no time. But you know, first thing happens, I'm reading the instructions here, and it turns out I'm supposed to take the tail off to feed this thing down and through the tail. Let's just fast forward through that. I had to unbolt this and this because the cable needs to kind of come around like this and feed under all this stuff here. Look, if all these things right, look, the positive is literally, they do build them well. So we have is the cable running down like this. Following the instructions, it's supposed to come down underneath this nub right here where the tank would bolt up. And here's where you get all your set of wiring. And it's basically going to be connecting all down in here, which is good because there's a good little gap for the extra connectors to be sitting. Go to your instructions here. This is the most important part. It's going to show you everything to unplug and gives you a diagram of what connector goes to where. So you're going to unplug it, connect it into here, then connect this into the injector so it can basically interrupt the signal and change it. Come on, dude. There it goes. These fuel rails are going to be right in the way. They've already removed the tank. You'll see how these things work. It's just the same thing again. Throttle body position sensor. The only thing left to connect now is the positive onto the battery here. Since I'm going to be connecting that, I'm also going to connect this, our accessory or charger for the bike. Sometimes you can manipulate these little guys with a magnet down here. This is a temporary solution. We'll have to get a little terminal thing for this side. We're going to get some small zip ties. Zip ties this to the frame. Now we kind of know where it's slack it needs to be at. Obviously I have to connect this somewhere, which I think I'm going to have coming out about right here. Keep in mind too, if you ever have to do any work on the bike, you don't want these to be so tight that you can't get them off without breaking the wire. I actually like to leave these snug, but where there's a little bit of a loop in it, enough to get a knife or hair politically corrects into it. Pop this off. Plug her in. There we go, it's running. And what they're showing in the picture is basically to Velcro it. They give you some double-sided tape here and Velcro. They want you to Velcro this thing kind of right under the plastic here. I think the best thing to do is kind of Velcro it like this, because right here is your access to your micro little USB cable, which lets us tune the thing. A little rubbing alcohol here. I'm gonna go ahead and hook the tank back up now, and we'll see if the thing will fire up. Before I put any maps on, I just want to make sure that it works. Yeah, I just want to make sure it was running right, because if it's missing on a cylinder, we don't have something connected right, it would be obvious really fast. This part's kind of fun. We get to do some tuning here, act like we're some smart guys. First thing you want to do is go onto Power Commander's website. You want to get the Power Commander 5 software, look up your bike, and there'll be tons of maps for different modifications, different areas in the world. Get the one that makes sense for you. We have the map open here. Next we're going to say send map. Map sent successful. Cool. Seriously, it's that simple. You get to look like you're doing something really cool, but you're literally opening up software, finding the map that makes sense for your bike, and clicking send. You ever go to a dyno, especially like a Dynojet dyno who makes Power Commander, the tuners will plug into those things, and they know how to manipulate them. Of course, as you start putting bolts back in the bike, you might as well go ahead and bust your gold bolts out. Just find whatever bolt is exactly the same as the one you had. All right, hey, that looks pretty good. Look at that. I hate to take it apart, having it looking like a motorcycle again, but we did get a clutch for it. We got to take off these fairings. We got to pull this cover off to get to the clutch. Obviously oil is going to spill out, and we're going to be changing the oil anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get the engine warmed up, 100% warmed up. We'll dump the oil, then we'll pull this cover off. Throw a new crush washer on there when you do this. I cannot get my tool in here. This lower fairing is driving me freaking mental. You know what? I gotta replace all the bolts with gold bolts anyway, so why not? Let's just take it off. It's a Phillips. You know what that is? That's a battery terminal bolt. Oh man. Hand tight's good. If you want to be ridiculously thorough and not screw up, get your new gasket here. Trace you out the shape of your gasket, then punch little holes in it. As you take the bolts off, you can stick them in these holes as you go around. They are different lengths. You don't want to screw it up. Putting a bigger bolt where a shorter bolt goes, you can punch a hole in the motor, you can strip a hole out. So if you just want to be extra safe, this is an easy way to do it. Besides, you just bought a bunch of parts, so you've got cardboard sitting around anyway. keeping it all together. Probably the original clutch. It's fairly worn in here. Got the new clutch here. It's been soaking for over a day in the oil. But the idea here is we're going to take the stack as it sits here in order, put it right back together the way it came out, just replacing each of the friction ones with our new friction ones, and you shouldn't screw anything up. So here's your new one, here's your old one. Alright, here's the judder spring. It's really important to grab this and put it in the exact way. Even this is very important which way it was sitting in there. They give you a pack of these heavy duty clutch springs. You don't have to use these. With that new clutch lever we put in though, it's pretty easy to pull, so I'm gonna say screw it and just go to put the heavy duty ones in. My knife assistant is here, everyone. Oh good, we're there. Yes sir, we're right in the middle. Well, I think that's a pretty good stopping point, man. I mean, the bike's nearly done at this point. We just got some minor details. Put the fairing back on, clean her up, and go take her for a spin. Buying this bike and putting all the parts we put into it, I know we're still less than half of what a new bike would cost. It's gonna be completely stocked. Stay tuned for that. That should be out real soon. Shh, let's just jump into it. Take the smog block off plate. I don't know how to talk anymore. Look at the time.
Oh, God.
Did I just throw all the bolts on the floor? Dang, that oil does not look bad. I might have to put that in my lawnmower.
Bye bye. Bye now. Thanks for watching and watching the Budget 600 build. I love you. Thanks, thank you. Have fun storming the castle.